Welcome back, everybody. Never a dull moment in crypto, huh? Hope everybody's staying somewhat grounded out there. And I've got a special guest with us today. Just ask Jesse. You've seen him on a long time ago. Last we talked was probably about liquid loans, but now he's made his way into the Power City ecosystem and a lot of new stuff to announce. Most lately in the PulseChain universe, there's been the Earn protocol, which is basically just liquid loans for PulseX. Okay, so if you liked liquid loans, you're probably going to like this one too. I recently started looking at it, and it seems like a decent place to make some passive income for me personally. But obviously, we'll talk about all the risks and everything, and then I don't know, just talk about what's going on in general. But yeah, let's introduce yourself, Jesse, for people that don't know you.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on, y'all? So yeah, a long time ago, I was it feels like a long time ago. I was part of the liquid loans team, and I ran around educating people how that protocol works. And then it also feels like for a long time I've been a founder of Power City now, where we built quite a few things already and launched some things. We've got a cross-chain DEX and bridge aggregator, PulseX, where you can basically swap any token from any chain to any other token from any other chain, to include.
Does that work now?
Yeah, it works. Yeah, it absolutely works, and it's faster than ever. We just updated some things, and it works very fast. The on-chain swaps on PulseChain will be on here maybe in about 2 days. We had to turn them off during this latest update we did to integrate a couple PulseX things into it correctly. But you can swap Bitcoin into PulseChain, ETH assets into PulseChain. You can go back and forth. You get to select which route you want to take. So maybe you prefer Richard's Pulse Ramp bridge. That might pop up as one of the routes you can take. You click it, and that's the bridge you go through.
It seems like most of the routes on there are from Change now specifically. Is anything
if you're
changed
going
recently?
from one chain, if you're going to PulseChain, there's like not very many no exchanges that carry Pulse, right?
Yeah.
So the route ends up always being changed now because they do carry Pulse.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they do put a limit. So I mean,
Yeah.
I know things are always improving, but yeah, I think they stopped you at about a couple $1,000s.
Well, yeah, correct. Couple $1,000. So while there's many exchanges that would like to carry Pulse until maybe Richard gets through the SEC debacle and some other things, we may not see that, right? In reality. Now there's at least one place, which has changed now, which is said that risk is acceptable to them, but only with small amounts, right?
Yeah.
So, we have to be happy with that for the time being. We're always reaching out to new places and new teams to try and get various listings, integrate new things into our protocol. And that all takes time, but what we have works pretty cool right now.
Yep. So guys, yeah, if you can go from any chain into PulseChain, you could use PortalX swap. You could also use StealthX or Change Now directly, but yeah, they do have limits. They do take some fees. You probably won't care for the convenience sake of actually instant chain-to-chain swaps.
Mm-hmm. So we've got that launched. We also have what we call our core. So we have our most dedicated Power City lovers who like to participate in this core.powercity.io. And it's a staking platform that when you stake Watt tokens or Watt LP tokens, you collect fees from all our various protocols. So you can imagine every cross-chain aggregator, for example, has a fee. And normally that fee goes like 100% to the team, and you never see them. You don't know who they are. We've decided that the fees will flow to the community. At least the vast majority of the fees will flow to the community. So things like the fees from PulseX, a percentage of the fees from Earn Protocol, some fees from Pixel Park when that launches, some fees from Amplifier, which is a front end we're building on top of liquid loans and on top of Earn. All these fees end up flowing to the stakers in the core. Not all the fees, but the majority of the fees flow to them. So it's like it makes all our dApps kind of community owned it gets people's buy-in and makes those people want to either keep participating or maybe educating people about these various things. And we do feel that all this stuff is very price positive. When we build something, we'll always look and say, do we believe that this is healthy for Pulse, or does it milk from Pulse, right? So imagine Portal X. People are swapping across all these various chains. Those fees actually get collected into these contracts, and those fees could be in Bitcoin, they could be in ETH, they could be in Matic token, they could be in all sorts of ERC20s across all these chains, thousands of different. Whenever somebody does a swap, there's a little fee that's shaved off. Okay, all of that ends up flowing straight into PulseChain and buying Pulse, right? So you could have users using Portal X that don't even know what PulseChain is, and they just like the platform. And guess what? They're actually helping the users of Pulse. Maybe the price of Pulse pumps a little bit because those fees are pumping straight into PulseChain and then getting distributed to the people who like Pulse and like Power City. There's been, if you look at core.powercity.io, there's some stats at how many fees have already flown into the core.
You want to pull that up?
Yeah, they're quite high actually.
So fees are flowing in to the core from all different types of tokens, and they're getting converted into PLS, and that PLS is distributed to core token holders. Full disclosure, I'm just trying to learn too because I don't actually own any. I've been watching from a distance though, and yeah, I do appreciate what you guys are doing.
So if you go to the core.powercity.io at the top, and we made this all trustless as well, right? No reliance on the work of others or of the team. Like we don't have to do anything for your fees, right? So there's a button at the top that says collector.
Collector. Okay, what does this do if I click it?
All right. It nukes your computer. No, it doesn't nuke your computer. So that's where you can see the fees that are going to flow, and you can actually call a contract that distributes those across all the stakers. So all the fees are being collected. There's fees pending. It looks like $81.45 worth, or 81.45 PXDC. It looks like 400 fees that have already been collected have been 42,174 PXDC and 420 million wrap Pulse, right? Because as I said, Portal X, everything routes through and turns itself into Pulse, buys Pulse. And whenever people want these fees distributed amongst all the stakers, they just click that button, collect fees. They pay a small gas fee. Bam! Now all the stakers in the core can collect their fee from their own when they connect their wallet, right? So we don't have to do anything.
So you get fees not only in Pulse but in PulseX, which is also good, and then stable coins if people are using their own protocol. That's
the PulseX fees will turn on next Tuesday.
So this would be like if Liquid Loans fees went to everybody that staked.
Yeah, but not 100% of the fees from Earn Protocol go here. It ends up being about 16% of the fees from Earn Protocol flow to the core.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So there you have it, guys. I mean, yeah, if you buy core, I guess you stake it in here and earn fees from whatever else they decide to build in the future as well, I'm assuming.
There's some other cool features about the core. There's a little bit of game theory. You can stake LP tokens for bonuses of your share rate. We thought long and hard about how do you, like, you know how some tokens you can stake and you get more of the same token? We're familiar with one of those, right?
Oh, yeah.
We didn't necessarily want to copy that or do that. We wanted something that, because this is a fee-based collector protocol, we didn't want to just emit out a token endlessly to people. But how do you reward people with a bigger percentage of these fees, right? So if you're the earliest of stakers, maybe your share rate is much larger than the later of stakers. But it does fluctuate with the market a bit. There's ways to try and catch up to the earlier of stakers. You get bonuses for being a liquidity provider and staking those tokens, for example. And if you go over to your stakes tab isn't going to show you much because you don't have any stakes.
No.
But if you were to make a stake, you could see that each stake you make, there'd be a cool JPEG just for fun, that for people that like those. But there'd also be it would show you your amp share rate. It would show you how many watt you have staked inside of each NFT, how many fees each NFT currently contains that you haven't claimed. And if you choose to, you can sell each one of your stakes on a secondary marketplace. You can transfer them from wallet to wallet. You can merge them into each other, which adds their amp share rates. And you can claim your fees out of them at any time without doing any damage to your stake.
So it also puts a little NFT on my PLP position if I had one.
Yeah, so you can stake PLP tokens. If you were to pair Watt to Pulse, for example, you can come back and stake those in here, and it's going to give you a 50% bonus on your share rate. That's basically your compensation for impermanent loss. So normally when you're a liquidity provider, there's some sort of token that emits out to you to compensate you. Like maybe that's ink in some examples. Maybe if you're a liquidity provider and earn, you are emitted out, at least for the first 60 days, some earn tokens. Well, in here, it's a little bit different. You don't get emitted out anything. You just get a bigger share rate. So because you're being a liquidity provider and you're providing that service, you take those tokens back here and you stake them, and you get a bigger share rate of the pool because you're a liquidity provider. That's how we incentivize LP. And that's why our LP grew so fast. Like within like 1 day, it was like $1 million worth of liquidity, right? So like we kind of followed the same model, not with a share rate or anything, but with earn. How do you incentivize people to go provide liquidity themselves? We don't want to be the largest like holders of liquidity. Nobody wants that rug risk or anything like that. You really want the community to take ownership of these protocols. And how do you do that? We think we found a good way to do that simply by giving people a bigger share rate of the fees.
Yeah. So, it's kind of like, how did liquid loans incentivize liquidity providing? I think they might still have the program going on. I didn't take advantage of it, but for them, if you paired loan to PLS, to jumpstart that, they would offer you some kind of a bonus, right?
Nope, USDL paired
USDL.
to Pulse.
Okay.
And for 42 days, you would get an emission of loan tokens.
Right.
Okay. And that when that 42 days ends, that's it. Now, what you normally see is if there's no incentive to provide liquidity, nobody provides liquidity. And people yank it out and it goes towards like, wow, the liquidity pool has nothing in it anymore. That kind of sucks. So there always has to be something that you give the community. This protocol here always has a way to give people an incentive. You always get a bonus. If you're a liquidity provider, you get a bigger share rate of the fees, right? So this is completely sustainable. There's no emissions of tokens that runs out that can be dumped on people's heads, dilute people and all that. So we really like this model, but you can't use this model for everything. There's other protocols such as PHUX, which is a balancer fork, where people can liquidity provide over there for an emission of UX tokens, and then people can vote and direct how much of the percentages go to which pools they like, and so on and so forth. Those are also very sustainable models. And they're different than, and that's, you can't ever call, I don't want to hear anybody say that like something like PHUX is a competitor to PulseX. Consider this. Just consider this. If everybody was participating in the same pool or the same pools over in PulseX, all for the same yield, sitting there trying to earn the same trading fees, you're all diluting each other, the yield would suck, right? When you have pools elsewhere that have their own incentives, you now have less dilution in the first pool, like the PulseX pool, where everyone's earning incentive. Would you like all the millions and millions of dollars that are in PHUX, for example, to come rushing into PulseX and dilute everybody so the incentive emission sucks? No, you don't. You do want some sort of balance, and having some alternatives actually makes the yield on both just a little bit better.
I think that means when you're referring to pools that are rewarded.
Pools that are rewarded. If there's a pool that doesn't do any sort of reward, there's like good luck getting people to participate in those pools.
Right. And if you're not a complete RH maxi, if you're maximal-ish like I am, if you like some derivatives or some other protocols and stuff, there are other coins that I own that I do park in PHUX because I like the fact that they're being put to work. I might not, be so diamond-handed on those coins otherwise.
Yeah. Now, Earn Protocol, we can talk about Core all day long, but the most exciting thing recently is Earn Protocol. People have been asking us when for the longest time. When.
I'm super pumped about that one just because it's nice to be able to put my PulseX to work, make some yield, and it's just awesome. Like, I'm hoping it's safe. I trust you guys. Obviously, you've got the audits, you've got the fetch oracle down. Really, the fetch oracle is probably my only point of contention.
And we're not using fetch.
I'm sorry.
Yep. So Earn Protocol is not using fetch because it's not live to the public yet. And there are some challenges that we can discuss with using fetch with really small time windows. So I don't know how much of the weeds you want to get, but
if it doesn't concern Earn Protocol, let's just talk about what the safety and help people sleep at night about the safety, including myself, of Earn Protocol.
Yeah. So Earn Protocol is a fork of Liquidity, and Liquidity has been running on ETH now for 3 or 4 years. It has been the most stable coin that Ethereum chain has ever seen. Okay, when the other stable coins have depegged, that thing likes to go to like $1.03, right? And the reason for that is because the ability to redeem is right there on chain, right in front of your face. You can call the contract or hit the button and call the contract, and you can get your ETH back instantly. You can get $1 for the ETH for each one of those stable coins. It takes other protocols some time to balance out. So what is a depeg, first off? So that's a concern people have. What makes a stable coin death spiral and go to zero? A DEX, like let's say PulseX. PulseX doesn't know the difference between a stable coin and a meme coin. All it knows is there's a contract number, this quantity, paired to this other contract number, this quantity. And the ratios between the two, it can kind of derive the price from that. That's all. That's all the DEXs know, right? They don't know that it's supposed to be worth $1. There's nothing that rebalances it and brings it back to $1 every time somebody sells some. Okay? It's just you call them two meme coins. All right.
Ratios. Yeah.
Now, when you buy a stable coin, the value goes up because you're changing the ratio, just like you would if you bought a meme coin. If you sell one, the value goes down. So if somebody comes in and they sell a whole bunch of USDC, USDC drops in value, goes to 97 cents or whatever it goes to. All right. Relatively quickly, there's people with bots that buy that back up. And the reason they do that is because they know they can redeem it back to Circle for $1 worth of fiat. So somebody who sells eats the slippage. The guy who comes in right behind him and buys it back up to $1 gains the slippage because he's going to do a redemption. Okay, so that's kind of how that works. You don't always have to run a redemption. There's other ways to just trade between different stable coins and profit. So if you could trade 100 DAI and get 103 USDC, you do the trade. And if you could trade 103 USDC for 104 USDT, you do the trade. And there are bots even that help with that and just do that all day long and the stablecoin counts in those wallets just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And those bots and humans that are like manually doing it are really helping repeg the price of these stablecoins to 1, all of them to 1. Okay, so you have to have a redemption mechanism, though. Every stablecoin in existence, for it to not ever go into a death spiral, there has to be some sort of guarantee that when the price goes down, there's an incentive for somebody to come in and buy it because they can get something for it. They can get $1 back for it. They're the people that are going to repeg it back to $1. Okay, so you have to have a redemption mechanism. There's been things like Luna that did not have all the backing in place. They're like the backing just wasn't there. So you had just mega millions worth of stable coins, but not mega $1 million worth of collateral that you could get back out. So, while you can make that pretend to peg for a while, at some point, a whale guy wakes up and realizes, man, these things aren't actually redeemable. Yeah. And he's the first to sell. And then everyone else realizes, oh, wow, there's not enough collateral in the system for me to be able to redeem this. What's the point of trying to buy it back up? And then everybody does what's called a death spiral, and they start selling it like a meme coin down to zero. And they never recover. And it's because the collateral is not in place. But things like Maker with DAI, or Liquidity with ETH, or Liquid Loans with Pulse, or Earn Protocol with PulseX, the collateral is always there. There's way excess collateral in the system to support that. Every one of them is always guaranteed to be worth $1.
And right. The important part too is that there is enough buy pressure in the stability vault waiting to buy up liquidated vaults, over 50% right now, which, the only problem would be like if all the vaults got liquidated simultaneously and somehow there weren't enough stable coins to buy them all up, which is very unlikely when the whole premise is to be over collateralized significantly.
Yeah. So, and that's what actually makes this better than Maker. And
bold statement, Jesse.
What's that?
It's a bold claim.
No, I'm going to tell you why, though.
Okay, go ahead.
Because with Maker, there's a when somebody's liquidated, there's a 6-hour liquidation process, and that collateral has to go to auction, and somebody has to be willing to buy it, and that window lasts for 6 hours before the purchase is done. Okay, what happens to the price? What happens if the price of ETH goes down a lot in that 6-hour window? You would have to have people willing to buy the debt for more than it's worth. Now, if there's a lot of liquidations, that's a severe problem. And that problem exists because of that liquidation auction process. Now, Liquidity recognized that this was a flaw in Maker. And they said, how do we have a system that has the stable coins in place to immediately clear the debt if a debt is even close to not having its backing? And so they created that at the 110% mark. So there's a 10% window. They said if any vault gets within 10% of no longer being able to back those stable coins, that is going to get liquidated, and instantly the stability pool buys the debt and clears it, and the health goes up immediately. That was genius.
So you're getting rid of the whole concept of auctions by being in the stability pool as an automatic vote to say, I will buy this when it dips to 110, below 110 automatically.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't really understand why that was better until just now.
Yeah. Now, the hope would be that liquidations don't happen all the time. So how do you convince people to even be in that pool so that can happen? Yep. And there was another genius moment from Robert, the founder of Liquidity, where he said, well, how about the users collect all the fees, but the only way they can collect the fees if they have these tokens that emit to the stability depositors who are willing to absorb that debt at a discount. So just parking your stable coins in the stability pool, you have a chance that if there is a liquidation on occasion, you're going to get PulseX at a discount, at a 10% discount from the current market price. And that will happen from time to time. And some of your stable coins will burn, but you'll pick up like 10% more value worth of PulseX.
Right.
But you're also sitting there earning an emission of those earn tokens,
Right.
which are the things you need to go stake for the fees in the protocol. And people are chasing that because those earn tokens are emitting out on a halving. Every single block, there's less and less and less being emitted out. And the schedule is every 365 days, it's decreased where it's like half of what it was 365 days ago. So it's a lot like Bitcoin, where it's like, okay, let's build this halving thing out to make it harder and harder to obtain these. So early on, people pile into this pool so that we have the ability to absorb that if necessary. And you incentivize them with this thing that they can go stake for the fees. And it works really, really, really well.
That was a great explanation. And I think we saw that it worked in the real world with Liquidity. This was the Ethereum version. It survived like an 85% ETH drop, and the collateralization ratio was fine. And really people were a lot less dumb than you might expect them to be. So it gave me a little bit of faith in humanity, honestly, for that things like this can exist. But yeah, would you have any estimate on, you talked about the halving of the emissions of earn? Right now, we're sitting at about 85% APR, which is very high on stable coins parked in the stability pool on the earn protocol. I actually, just before the stream, I went and I took advantage of that because I'd be, not with my whole stack, of course, but it's a very attractive APR to me. And I'm wondering how quickly you think those diminish. Like, what's the halving schedule like, and what's the timeline?
Well, it's based on a few things.
And it's based on the price of the earn token too. I get that.
Price of the earn token.
Yeah.
Now, honestly, to some people, the price doesn't matter because they're just chasing the biggest percentage of the fee pool that they can get. Because when you're getting these things for free simply by parking your stablecoin, to some people, price matters because they want to go dump it. To other people, they're just happy that, wow, I'm getting these tokens. They might as well be worth zero. I don't care. Right. I'm going to go stake them for the fee so I have a passive income.
Because you're long on the actual usage of the platform versus the current yield.
Right. So there's two different sorts of people there. Now, the APR is based on the price. And then the more you're diluted in that pool, it's going to go down because everyone's diluting each other and everyone's getting less. But the halving, it halves every 365 days, but it does it block by block by block. So in this case, earlier is better, bigger is better.
And going into a bull market,
the more of those tokens you can get.
And theoretically, if the price did a 2x or a 3x by the end of the year, you could still maintain the exact same APR.
Yeah, if more people are piling in at the same time. They're diluting each other, but the price is going up at the same time. And
let me be clear, I'm not long on this token. Like, I'm not buying earn token because I think it's going to pump to the moon. It's a genuine utility token in a contraption that I have never seen until Liquid Loans, until you came to me 2 years ago. It was summertime, I think. And, kind of blew my mind with the Liquid Loans thing. It was like, yeah, this has actually been working fine on Ethereum. So to me, it's just one of those examples of taking something that's great, not reinventing the wheel, plopping it onto PulseChain. Obviously, it's not a copy. It's not as easy as copy paste, but you guys took your time with doing it right. So I will say too, with the UI, it's so much. You were right. You were telling me earlier that you actually like this UI better.
I hate comparing, but we at Power City wanted to make it simple, where everything was the base main use parts of it, like the vault, the stability pool, the staking pool, were all on one single page.
It's really nice. Yeah, I mean, look, Liquid Loans, their UX designer went hard, but it doesn't really. I do like the Earn Power City version better, just look and feel wise. I use them both very, very conservatively, by the way. But yeah, it's nice that you just got 3 little boxes. Hey, what's the price of Earn PXDC? Just all the data is right there.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's risks in each. Well, there's really not risks in the staking pool, really, because you just stake tokens and you get free PXDC whenever somebody mints them. You get free PulseX whenever there's a redemption, right? So, like, what's the risk of sitting in there? You can't lose those tokens. Nothing can happen, right?
Cyber attack, asteroid, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Now, the risks in the stability pool would be from time to time there may be a liquidation, and a little bit of your stable coins are going to burn, and you're going to pick up PulseX at a 10% discount. It's actually a 9.5% discount, but at that moment in time, you're literally up by 9.5%. If you just like waited and like, let's say PulseX was going down and down and down, and then like a couple days later, you come in and you look and you say, "Oh, I just picked up some PulseX in exchange for a little bit of my PXDC, but it's worth a little less." Okay, well that's because you waited and PulseX happened to be going down at that time. But it could also equally go the other direction. And if you're paying attention to your stability pool position, you could actually lock those gains in if you wanted to, and say, "Oh, I just picked up a couple bucks worth of PulseX." Maybe that's your goal, by the way. Maybe you just want to hodl those. But if you wanted to just immediately lock those profits in, you just go buy that, use that to go buy back PulseX, PXDC, and drop it into the pool, and you just made on those coins a 9.5% profit. Okay, so those are the risks in the stability pool. The vaults have a little bit different, and to some people, scarier risks. The vaults are where you choose to take a loan out, and you're using your PulseX as collateral. You can put as much PulseX in there as you want and take as small of a loan as you want down to $500 worth of debt. The more PulseX you have in there, the higher your collateral health, which means you're really far away from liquidation point. The less PulseX you have in there, the smaller the window between the value of your PulseX and the PXDC you minted, that lowers your collateral health. You are in full control of that. You can mint as many stable coins as you want, up to the degen level of 110%. We don't, suggest anything, but I don't know why you would want to do that. But you can also say, well, I want to be 1,000% collateral if that's your thing too. But there's risks behind that too, by the way. Like, you're barely putting any of your capital to work for you. Like, you're only using 10% of the value you put in to go put to work. Like, what's the point? And if PulseX did go down in value and you just sat there staring at it and PulseX went down in value 90%, and you were still holding those stable coins and you did nothing with your vault, you only have 10% of your value if you were liquidated, if you did nothing. So like there's risk from all fronts. Like, some people like higher collateral health and they say, "Oh, that makes me feel healthy." There are people, and we watch them on chain, it's super interesting. After a major pump in the price of PulseX, we've seen these guys that move their collateral health from a pretty safe level down to like near 110%. Yeah. And it's like, why is that guy doing that? It's because he just wrote a 60% pump up, and he doesn't think it's going to go up much more, but it might. And he's using the protocol as a stop loss. And he's saying, wow, I just wrote a 60% pump up. Let me lower my collateral health, mint a whole bunch of stable coins, put myself at 110% level, or 112 or 15 or whatever. And if it keeps going up, man, he just made a smart play. If it goes down, he also made a smart play, because yeah, he will get liquidated, but he just used the system as a stop loss, and he's got all those stable coins already minted, right? So there's something to be said where, like, you will see some people with lower collateral health, and you'll see people in the Telegram chat say, "Oh, that guy's so degen, he's going to get wrecked." Or you'll even hear people say, "Oh, this guy, he's so big and he got liquidated. He's wrecked." No, he's not.
He's got the stables.
In most cases, he did that on purpose, and it was fully manageable to put himself wherever he wanted to be. And there's a reason why that guy did that.
Yeah. Now, I totally understand that. There are tax implications. At first, I was thinking, oh, it's a nice tax-free rate of exit. That's not true. Yeah. So I do, but I almost think now, just thinking through it, like when bull market euphoria hits, It seems like everyone's doing a 3-to-1 or 300% collateral ratio, meaning the price can drop 66%, correct? In order for you to get liquidated?
I think so.
Yeah. So increasing that up, or taking some off the table and making it 2-to-1 or even a little bit less could protect you from the bear market that you don't even know is around the corner. It could almost protect you from yourself in a way.
Yeah, yeah. Now there's another risk though for being in the in a vault with a position, and that we talked a little bit about redemptions, where anybody is able to get $1 for the PulseX back. Now we have to talk about this because it's a scary thing. It's a scary term out there right now because you hear, oh, there's redemptions and liquid loans. Yeah, that's part of the system. And I need people to understand what that means. It's not the same thing as a liquidation. There's times where you can actually benefit from that. Equally, there's times where it's not so great if you're redeemed against. So basically, when you mint some stable coins, you're allowed to pay those back at any time. If Coffee here, for example, mints 10,000 stable coins, and one day he decides he wants to pay back 200 of them, he can do that at any point. But the stable coins aren't necessarily all going to just be hodled by the same people that took out these loans. They end up all over the place on the blockchain. They're in liquidity pools. People have them liquid in their wallets. They're doing all sorts of stuff with them across the chain with them. And they all have to be redeemable for them to have a good peg, which, by the way, the redemptions turn on next Tuesday. So if you're looking at the PXDC now and you're like, oh, it's 97 cents, redemptions haven't even turned on yet.
Same thing happened with liquid loans, which it's just same old FUD, recycled FUD.
So basically, if I don't even have a vault, I don't have to have a vault, right? But let's say I have 200 stable coins, 300 stable coins, it doesn't matter. And I say, I feel I want to do a redemption. Now, in most cases, I can go to PHUX or Pateus, or I can go to PulseX.
By the way, guys, redemption means paying your loan back off.
Yeah, it means paying your loan back. That's exactly what it means. It means somebody else is paying it back for you. Now, the first thing I would want to do if I wanted to exchange my stables is go check out one of the dexes, or maybe use something like Pateus because it's just going to find the best rate, for you. Okay. And I'd say, oh, I got 300 stable coins and I want this other thing. And see what rate it gives you. Because the fees on the dexes are usually really low. The fee to do a redemption starts at 0.5%, which is usually much higher than what the dexes have. So you always want to go to a dex first. But for some reason, maybe I bought the stablecoin at a discount and I want to, redeem because I know I'm going to get $1 for it. Maybe that's one reason. When I click redeem, I'm paying back if I had $300, say 300 PXDC, the system's immediately going to go to the lowest collateralized vault. And it knows, oh, this is the unhealthiest guy in the system. The system doesn't like people to be unhealthy. And it's going to say, well, pay back, burn these stable coins out of existence, remove from that guy's debt ledger $300 worth of debt, but in return, $300 for the PulseX comes out of that guy's vault and it goes to the redeemer, which is me. Okay.
So even if he's not liquidated, let's say he's at like 111%, it'll still come out of his.
Yes, or he could be, or if he could be 500%. If he's the lowest guy,
right, the lowest guy,
it's still going to come from him. It always goes in order.
Yep,
because it's the only fair way to do it. You have to have a guaranteed redemption, and for it to be fair, it has to pull from the lowest collateralized guys. Now, those guys in normal market conditions, they just had a favor done for them.
Yeah,
somebody came and they paid their debt. They had some debt wiped. They had an equal proportional value of PulseX that was pulled from them. Their collateral health went up a little bit. If they wanted to, and they didn't degen with their stable coins, like buying a meme coin that went to 0, if they still have them, in the stability pool or liquidity pool or somewhere, right? They could literally just buy back their PulseX, drop it in their vault, and have the exact same position. Now, if PulseX is moving around and it goes down, they could still take their own 300 PXDC, buy back PulseX, and have more than they started with. Or if the market's moving up a lot, they're going to go with 300 PXDC, and they're going to try and buy PulseX back, and they're going to realize, oh, well, I'm not going to get back the same quantity that I had before. So it works in both directions. Now, this doesn't apply to your whole vault. It's not a liquidation. You might have 200% collateral health. Only that value of the stable coins you minted, all that excess 100 is always yours. It never gets touched during a redemption. It's always yours. Mm-hmm. The only thing that you can ever be redeemed is the value you're already holding that you minted, that you hopefully didn't degen with and go spend on a shit coin, okay? Or loop-de-loop in the system and leverage yourself to death. So, like, it's not the worst thing in the world. Now, there are weird things that happen on PulseChain, such as like the OA who comes in and he pumps the price of PulseX 60% in 30 minutes or however long it took. And if there's any redemptions that happen at that time, those people that had some redemptions, they feel bummed because they go, oh, well, I was redeemed at 60% less value than now. And now if I try and buy back the PulseX that was there, that was backing my loan that I no longer have, it costs 60% more. So that risk does apply. But remember, it doesn't apply to your whole vault. It only applies to the amount of stable coins you minted. You could feel wrecked. You're going to be most wrecked if you were doing something with your stable coins that made you lose them all. Yeah. If you did something like buy a car with it and at least get some value, okay, at least you have some value out of those stables. If you bought a different asset that went up, and maybe you got, okay, cool. If you put them in a farming pool somewhere or in the stability pool or here or there, and you're making some passive income, cool. You have some value. But you do have to understand there are liquidations, which are normally bad. Some people use them as stop losses. There's also redemptions that under normal market conditions it's okay. There's actually some opportunities where you can have more than you started with, but if the price is pumping a lot, you can have less than you started with if you tried to buy back that PulseX. And that sucks for some people. If you're scared, don't have a vault. And there's other ways to use a protocol just buy some stable coins and drop them in the stability pool, or go, which will give you earn tokens that you can put in the staking pool for the fees. You don't have to have a vault to participate and benefit from this protocol. If you're really scared of what a redemption or something is, just simply don't have a vault. There's plenty of other people that are going to mint these besides you if you're scared, because they want a whole bunch of stable coins to drop into the stability pool, for example.
Yep. So basically, yeah, guys, if you don't understand or you don't want to understand, if you don't want to read the documentation, it's okay to do nothing, right? You don't have to do every protocol that comes your way. I like it for the passive income, very safe strategies. But just to echo what Jesse said, if you're playing these advanced games of being close to the liquidation price, you should want that. Like, you should be happy when redemptions happen, and you should accept the risk of short-term volatility, allowing a redemption that if it snaps right back up, you might not have as much as you thought you did. That's why the 3-to-1 collateralization ratio is currently that's what the average is across the board. And that would allow, wicks of 10 or 25%, even 40, 50% to happen. And as long as they recover quickly. Now, this is crypto and crazy things have happened. So there's existential risk, especially in the earlier days of a protocol as well. Ethereum is 7 years old. PulseChain's not even 1 yet. So just keep all this stuff in mind. And Jesse, I don't know if you want to pull up the screen. I can't pull up the screen without connecting a wallet because it blurs the whole screen out. And Right now, I don't have any wallets here that I
Which
the
which one are we?
earn.powercity.io.
I'm the same way. I would have to connect a wallet, and I don't want to. I can't do that at this moment.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you guys can just go there yourself. It's earn. I'm gonna put it in the chat. Earn.powercity.io. If anybody cares to check it out, read more.
We'll look at. I'll talk over some stats for a second after I mention one more thing about redemptions. There's a heck of a lot of arbitrage that's happening on PulseChain. A lot. You have various DEXs and really, really, really low gas fees, and arbitrage opportunities that do not exist on Ethereum chain because every transaction costs like tons of money. These arbitrage guys can run arbs for like really small percentages, right? They can run an arb that makes them like 50 cents and they're happy with it, right? Because it costs them a penny to do it. So they're looking for spreads, differences in prices between one DEX and another DEX of like 1% or less sometimes, right? And this is happening thousands of transactions a day across all the DEXs. That's on one hand, that's healthy. On the other hand, because it like balances all the prices across everything relatively quickly. But there's also this is also why the Oracle situation was a bit of a challenge with Fetch, and like there was a ton of research we had to do before we decided to launch. You know, we had Liquidity running like 15-minute windows on their prices. Okay, well that's acceptable on ETH. Ethereum's not going to move a whole lot in price in 15 minutes, and even if it moves like 2%, it's like the fees to run a transaction are going to be a lot. So the opportunity there of having somebody come in and utilize Liquidity to try and scoop up some ETH and go sell it somewhere else, like it just doesn't exist because it's a mature chain. The gas is super expensive. The price moves relatively slowly. And on PulseChain prices move very fast. The liquidity is sometimes thin across some places. And combine that with low gas fees, you actually have to have a really, really tight window on your protocol price compared to your spot price. I'm talking like really small. Like they almost have to be on top of each other. You can't go to a single block, but you can get pretty darn close. That's super important. So that means not 15-minute windows, not even 10-minute windows. I don't want to tell you the window, but it's very, very small. Right? It's super important to do that. This had to be learned. This was a growing pain, I feel, with liquid loans. It's something that we had an opportunity to watch in action after they launched, so that we could build our protocol to best protect the users from that angle as we possibly could. So people need to understand that it is a young, volatile chain. There's a ton of arbitrage opportunities, and that comes with could be some more redemptions than you would normally see over on Liquidity. We're going to have to watch it play out. I think everyone's going to be fine. Again, if you're scared, sit back and watch. And I
was scared. I was more scared of liquid loans than I am of this one for all those reasons. You get to learn from the guinea pig almost. And liquid loans is fine, by the way, now. But, you know, there's some hiccups. So when it comes to you're talking about the price Oracle, or are you talking about the price? How does it get the price data?
Yeah. So you can't. So in any protocol, you can't use a spot price. You can't get the instant right now spot price, because it subjects you to like these giant wicks that happen in a single block, right? So somebody can come in and the price could move a whole ton. And then somebody uses that to like drain a protocol. And by the second block, it's like all gone, right? You have to have a difference of at least a little bit between the spot price and the ingested price into the protocol, so that you don't have like,
Right.
I can't call them scam wicks because those happen on exchanges, but kind of scam wicks. You can't have somebody wick something in a single block and then
Right.
take advantage of a
So
protocol.
are you averaging the price over a period of time
Yeah,
or a series of blocks?
across multiple pools over a period of time? Absolutely.
Okay, and it's a short enough time to handle the volatility, but
Mhm.
long enough to capture scam wicks using
Right.
PulseX as the price feed.
It uses Pulse as the price feed, and then across multiple pools, and then the ratio of Pulse to PulseX.
Okay, and that's a highly liquid pair, and
Super liquid. That's the best way to do it because it's got like a couple weeks ago, like $60 million worth of liquidity between like Pulse and PulseX.
Oh, and like even more in other, the Pulse INC and all this stuff combined. It's hundreds of millions, I think. But let's talk about liquidity then, because you do have to bootstrap. The PulseX liquidity is pretty sufficient. It's second next to Pulse itself. But you do have to start off the PXDC and earn token themselves by incentivizing, pools on Fux, for example. I've seen some murmurs popping up over there. But can you remind me, what are you doing again? Is it also the core protocol that's incentivizing that liquidity too?
So the core does it a different way. Earn
Right.
protocol has its own liquidity pool incentives.
What are those?
So for 60 days, you can on PulseX liquidity provide PLSX paired to PXDC for an emission of earn tokens. If you stake the LP tokens back in earn.powercity.io, you can also pair PulseX to earn and get an emission of more earn. Okay. That was literally another thing we had an opportunity to look at and say, wait a minute, like we want this pool to be big too. And we don't want to be the primary controllers of it. We want this to be a community run thing. So let's just simply emit out tokens to people who stake LP of earn paired to PulseX, right? And people are doing that now. There's like $1 million worth of that liquidity. There's like $2 million worth of the PulseX paired to PXDC liquidity on PulseX. But then also simultaneous to that, we said, well, let's get with Buck and fire up the PHUX pools.
Yeah.
Let's lessen the dilution and give more rewards all at the same time.
Yep.
And just grow this liquidity as thick as possible. So now there's a pool. It's called the Bridge and Oracle pool. It's got DAI, USDT, USDC, USDL from Liquid Loans, and PXDC from Earn Protocol. A 5 stablecoin pool. I think the current yield is like just over 20%. That's just trading fees alone. So you can hold any combination of those stables. Maybe you like USDC, for example. You can drop that in the pool, and you're going to earn 20% by doing that.
Another
week,
stable pool
kick on, and that rate's going to go up because then you'll start getting the gauges have been initiated, and starting next week, people are going to be earning an emission of the PHUX token, so that yield is going to go even up from here.
I see it's already at a minimum of 22% APR for stable liquidity. That's something that if you have stables laying around, those don't last forever. So those are very juicy. Just saying.
Yeah. That's insane. Like, what do you get for holding fiat? Like, not even like, I guess you could get a CD. You could get a 13-month CD for like maybe 5% sometimes.
But try a 5-year for 5%. Last time I checked.
But imagine just holding stables and you're like getting 20% a year just for sitting on your stables. And you look, we all like to participate in, PulseX and HEX and cool things on the chain. You've got to rotate some of your value into stables and lock that in. Because if all you do is speculate on the stuff that goes up and down, you're going to make a bad trade one day and you're going to lose it all. So at least consider at points, rotating some things into stables. That doesn't necessarily mean dump your tokens, because you can just collateralize them into stables like we talked about, and then park those in places like PHUX or in the stability pool, and you kind of lock that in, and now that's your bag of wealth, right? And as that grows, you can shave off of there and go put it in the other stuff you like too.
I say go the reverse route, right? Like, go with stable passive income first, and very finally with all the money that trickles in, then maybe do degen stuff if you have to, or if you're bored and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So like, let's look at the stats. There's 866 billion PulseX in the vaults. That's currently $64 million. It was 70 something, but PulseX is taking a dive over the past day or two. But 866 billion PulseX. Now that's clearly people that wanted to do things with their value, but like, we don't want them selling it. Now they just
$4 million.
Yeah, now they locked it in. Not locked it. They can get it back whenever they want. Just withdraw their excess or pay back their loan or manage it however they want. But that's 866 billion PulseX that's not being sold.
That's almost as big as the liquidity in the primary yield farm. That's like it's a big deal, guys. It's almost $1 trillion PulseX, and it's only been a week. I mean, we saw liquid loans lock up over billions and billions. I don't know if it's reached $1 trillion yet, but yeah, this is taking supply off the table and making it more scarce for now.
PXDC supply 21.7 million.
Well, let's talk about the fact real quick that you're already ahead of liquid loan supply. That's kind of weird.
Well, I hate comparing, but when something freshly launches and there's nobody in it, the yield is kind of insane, right? Mm-hmm. So this was a little bit expected, because nobody's going to allow just one guy to sit in the stability pool and like get the entire emission of earn tokens. People see that APR at like thousands of percent and they're like, holy cow, and people dive in, right? So it was always expected that there'd be some sort of balancing act, a teeter-tottering between the two protocols. That doesn't mean that one's better than the other. They both serve a great purpose. One allows you to lock up PulseX. The other one allows you to lock up Pulse and do things with it, because people get impatient. We don't want them to sell, so we give them this option instead.
Yeah. So 84% of that stable coin is in the stability pool. I think with liquid loans has gotten to about 55 or 60% last time I checked.
I thought it was at like 90.
Oh, is it? Never mind. I haven't checked in a while.
But we have a little bit different of incentives elsewhere, right? Because we have two incentivized liquidity pools on PulseX, one over on PHUX, which actually uses USDL as well. For all you USDL listeners, like, you have another place that you can park that, for some yield. So I think that might be why we have less, because we're heavily encouraging people to go use these yield farms on these DEXs. So we're going to see a little bit less than Liquid Loans has in their stability pool.
That's weird, because I'm actually doing the FUX stability pool, or I'm actually doing the USDL yield farm on PHUX. I thought more people would, but luckily it's just more yield for me.
Right.
Oh yeah, can I ask you a question? So the next stat is, you're going to say staked earn is 3.4 million out of 34, 35 total million. What was the thought process with going behind the reverse unit bias and not having a loan token price of 0.00001?
We went back and forth a whole bunch on this. Honestly, there's always people that say unit bias, like, people like to buy things cheaper. But then on the other hand, the other people in the other direction say, oh, less tokens, it's more rare, which it's not, because they're divisible, right? It's just a narrative.
Right.
So, like, once we realize that, and we're like, well, what looks the best on the front end so we don't see a ton of zeros all over the
A
place.
full dollar value, or a real number of cents, I think is what you're going for.
And what's easier to compare to a dollar?
Yeah.
So that when you log in and you look at it, you don't see a ton of zeros, and you can say, "Oh, I know what that's worth," because like it's at least closer to like fiat value.
I think that's what a lot of DeFi protocols on Ethereum did as well. They tried to mark their initial price. Like Aave was never, you always had it like a whole dollar value, or like, stuff that people could comprehend, because it wasn't the point of, like, I guess they didn't design their tokens to pump massively. Just like this one. I mean, Earn will, probably will pump a little, but it's not designed to like skyrocket.
Yeah. Another thing that's kind of funny, like you saw the launch price at like 25 cents of Earn token, and it pumped to like $8.
Did it?
And like,
damn.
Yes. And I was scratching my head, like, what is going on here? But that can be attributed to our emission. So there are people have claims available to them, and when they claim, though, they claim block by block by block. You can come back at any point and claim a little bit more for a period of 6 months. So there's we got rid of like the supply shock where it's like, okay, let's do a claim, and then there's like tons of tokens on the market. No, if everybody FOMO'd in the first 10 minutes, everybody would have just a tiny bit. Right? You come back 10 minutes later and you get a tiny bit more. If you wait 24 hours, okay, you have a little bit more than, you have more, because it's emitting out to you to be able to claim over a 6-month period. So that eliminated, we felt, some sell pressure, because who wants to claim like 5 cents worth of tokens and then go through all the work to do a spend approval on PulseX and then try and swap that? It's like 5 cents. It's like, it's work to just click stake, right? So that emission that we did, we thought removed some sell pressure, but then also there's not a whole lot on the market. Since there's no supply shock, like immediately, there's like, where are people going to get it? So there were some people in the community that said, I want to be the biggest one in the staking pool right now. And I'm impatient because I don't want to sit and click this claim button and wait for months to get a good sum of it. So it kind of forced their hand. If they wanted to participate in the staking pool and be big, they had to race off to the liquidity pools and buy it. And it literally went from 25 cents to $8 really quickly. So like all that worked, and it was kind of by design. Now we knew that's not sustainable because it is a free token. It emits out to people. I have no idea what it might be worth. It could continue to go towards zero. It could go up. I have no idea, and I make no price predictions on anything, whether it's the stuff we built or other people's things. I just don't do it. Use it for what it's intended for, and you might find that you're happy just sitting there earning the fees.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for explaining all this, Jesse. We're at an hour and I do have to get going, but can I just give you any closing remarks?
I appreciate you letting me come on here.
My pleasure.
I'm very passionate about this protocol, just same as I was passionate back at Liquid Loans. I think this design of making a stable coin is the most beautiful way to do it, the most elegant way. And it incentivizes people in all sorts of different ways. And for PulseChain to be successful, we don't want to continuously rely on the things from ETH. Not saying that we can be completely self-sustaining, but we want to be mature enough where we can say, look, we've got these DeFi protocols, we've got our own native stable coins, we've got this, we've got that. And to all that the Richard Hart Maxis out there, he literally cannot build everything. The work that's required to build this stuff is unbelievable. It is really, really hard. And it's for one guy to do it all with his dev team is like, it's literally impossible. So consider that there are cool things that are good for the ecosystem that help your bags maybe be more valuable. And open your eyes and just study the risks and rewards of these things, even if they're not Richard Hart stuff.
Yeah, it's a great message. Like, you definitely got me convinced on the elegance of the whole thing. I think it's really cool. People that don't understand it, maybe look into it or not, and just, it's always never the worst idea to sit and hold and do nothing. So thanks for coming, guys. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, share the video. Ape into INC. No, just kidding. But yeah, good job, guys. I'll see you on the next one.
Cool.